Alright guys, you know what time it is. It's time for another Live at 9:45 with me, Adam VanOrd of VanOrd Customs. Sorry, just the screen there. This week on the show I have Tim Samuels, otherwise known as WarPig on RC Crawler. Tim is a long-time custom scale builder and a founding member of Sorrca, so I'm excited to have him on, talk to him, interview him, hear what he has to say about some topics and some of that stuff. For those of you who haven't tuned into the show before, or this is your first time, a couple of things that I want to point out to you. Number one, I'm working on shifting everything over to YouTube, so any show that you have missed in the past should be over there. If you don't find it, let me know. It's been a big undertaking, and it's taken me about a week to kind of shift them all, do all of that. Additionally, all the stuff in the future I plan on putting up there. I'm also trying to spark my YouTube up for the summer, so if you haven't done so already, go over to VanOrd Customs and subscribe. There will be lots of good stuff getting pumped out over there on the YouTube channel. Additionally, I have more guests scheduled and coming up in the near future. Dan Davidson next week after a KNK recap, so anybody watching from KNK, big shout out to KNK. That's what's going on this weekend. Additionally, Eric Dye is the following week. Everybody knows him for his crazy brass knuckles that have swept the scale scene. And lastly, Brad Perry on the 5th, scale ultra runner, photographer. I can't wait to have a conversation with him. Additionally, let's get this thing fired up and running, and we'll go from there. All right, so I'll bring Tim in. He's waiting, and
Hey there.
hey, man, how's it going?
Going pretty good.
Holy smokes. I never ever can get my volume right, man. Every time. So it's all good. So, all right. So how's it going where you're at?
Going pretty good. Kind of a crazy day and just got done yelling at my kids. So hopefully they can be nice and quiet upstairs for me.
Hey, I hear it. It's been a long week for me. My son's been sick. So medicine and 3-year-old who doesn't want to take it has been a very fun treat this week. So, all right, let's jump right into this thing, man. How about you start with telling us a little bit about yourself?
All right, so I'm a 49-year-old father of 4, live in Milwaukee, Oregon, which is a suburb of Portland.
Okay.
Been married for 19 years, celebrating my 19th anniversary this month. Family owns 2 short line railroads, and so that's what I do for a living. I spend about 10 hours a week driving freight trains on 12 miles of track, and the rest of the time just doing track maintenance and equipment maintenance and stuff.
Sweet, that's awesome. I bet that that lends for some unique days, I'm sure.
Yeah, never a dull moment. No 2 days are alike. But after everybody thinks driving trains is so cool, but after 25 years of doing it, it's the same thing day after day. So.
That's fair. I get it. I think 25 years of anything is kind of the same thing day after day. So.
Yeah, that's where the tiny trucks come in. Keeps me sane.
I bet. I think that's what a lot of us are using them for. I know that's what I use them for, and it's definitely been a big help in that department. So. Let's talk a little bit about how long you've been in the RC hobby. So how long has it been?
I got into it like 2005, 2006. I bought one of my kids, like one of the junky Jeep, red Jeep, Toys R Us Jeeps, RC trucks, and I ended up playing with it more than he did, just out in the yard and stuff. And so all of a sudden, one day a new hobby shop opened right down the street from my work, and I was like, you know what, that looks kind of cool. Maybe I'll go see what I can get, because I'd never been into RC anything before that. And so I went down the street and told him that I was looking for something to just play around with around in my yard or whatever. And I ended up buying a mini LST.
Okay.
And proceeded to break it just about every time I drove it. And so I spent a lot of time going back to the hobby shop and getting parts for it. And then one time I walked in there and there's this truck sitting on the counter, and I was like, what's that? And the guy's like, well, that's an RC rock crawler truck. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is super cool. And I'd never seen anything like that before. And so every time I went in there, my mini LST ended up getting put on the shelf, and I started buying TLT axles and Stampede transmission and locking it, and just started building a scale, well, not a scale RC truck. It was a rock crawling RC truck back in the day, because scale really wasn't a thing back then. And
Right.
so yeah, and I mean, it had like masher tires on it and stuff, and some homemade frame, but I mean, it was super cool. And so that was kind of the start of things. My wife thought it was kind of a passing fad, and here I am 12 years later, so I guess
Yeah.
not.
And I think that my wife and my friends and even my family thought the whole RC thing was going to be a passing fad for me, and I'm in it not quite as long as you are, but I've been in it for a while too. So it definitely,
Yeah,
once you get in, man, it hooks you hard. So
it does.
so
It does. And we had a really good local club, and they got me hooked on it. And then that hobby shop, because of my work, I have access to a mini excavator and a dump truck and some rocks and stuff. So we ended up building a rock crawling course in front of that hobby shop down the street from my work. And we'd have like Wednesday night comps every week, and really got into that. It was really fun, cool to be able to just, 10 minutes away from my house, go rock crawl and compete against other guys. So I was
yeah,
hooked.
no, absolutely. That's an awesome setup, man. Right next to your house is perfect.
Yeah.
So, so a shout out to all the people watching. Why don't you just post up, guys, where you're watching from? Is anybody at K&K? That would be pretty sweet. I'm not sure what kind of Wi-Fi they're getting out there or any kind of signal at all, but that'd be pretty cool if someone was out watching at K&K. If you weren't in RC, what would be your hobby of choice, do you think?
Well, I do a lot of mountain biking. I haven't done as much mountain biking lately as I'd like to, but yeah, mountain biking, and I love woodworking. I have a woodworking shop here. When I added on to my house, I actually did a full basement woodworking shop, and then back here is my RC room. So it's really nice to have all this space.
Yeah, no, you did me a quick little tour when we talked the other night, and you do
Yeah.
have an awesome space. I'm betting you do most of the RC in the little shop, but the big shop would be nice if you need to like kind of spread things out too. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I actually have a desk with all my styrene stuff back in the corner, and I have drill presses and sanders and all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah,
it's nice. I mostly work back here. This is where all my metalworking stuff is, but it's nice to be able to go out in the big shop and sand some plastic or drill some holes.
yeah, I hear you. So let's talk a little bit about. I have a couple of fairly standard questions I usually ask everybody because I like to see kind of what their thought process is on it. But are you a big tire guy or a small tire guy?
I think like a lot of other people have answered, I'm whatever tire fits on the truck I'm building.
Okay.
Ryan Overby just said, "Can I get a train ride refund?" We got kicked off of our train at the TTC at 2012 Nationals, but Ryan, no, you can't have a refund. But yeah, I mean, I love all different size trucks and kinds of trucks, and I have class 1, 2, and 3 trucks, and so I tend to go on the smaller side of tires for all of my class trucks. Like my class 3 has Rock Beast XLs that I made into 2.2s, and they're like 5 1/8 inches in diameter. So they're definitely on the small side for a class 3 truck. But I'm really getting into the smaller tires. My class 1 truck that I ran at Nationals, my Willys, I put like 3.95-inch tires on it, and they did great. And it was a really fun truck to drive. So I think I'm probably leaning toward the smaller tires these days, like everybody else.
Well, I think that I hear that a lot. I think a lot of people are leaning in that direction, especially with the opportunities to build to the scale realism. Like, I feel like it's not always as much about what your truck can do, but how good it can look doing it a little bit more now, where it didn't always kind of feel that way.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Brushed or brushless?
Most of my trucks, I run brushed motors. My TTC truck, I always run a brushless waterproofed motor because you need wheel speed for some of those competitions. But I'm definitely brushed nowadays.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you like most about the RC hobby in general?
Oh gosh. I love traveling to comps. I love meeting everybody that I've met online over the years. I just, I mean, everybody's so great, especially when you meet them in person. Everybody's so different when you meet them in person. So yeah, I think the traveling part, I've gotten to a point where I can actually take a little bit of time off work and go to at least a few big comps around the country every year. Wish I was at K&K this weekend, but that didn't work
me
out.
too, man. I'm sitting over here so jealous of all the people. I see all these live feeds coming out, all the videos, and I want to be there. So
yeah.
So all right, what do you? Well, we talked a little bit about that you do compete. What is your favorite scale-related RC competition that you go to?
It's got to be nationals every year. I've been involved with them since the very beginning when they were up in Montana. So, half these guys I've been competing with since like 2008.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I just get to see them once a year. And so that's the thing. I love going and hanging out with the guys. And half the time I'm not even like concentrating on driving. I just am having a great time and hanging out and doing whatever I can to help and watching other people drive. I've been doing it for so long that winning isn't really that big of a thing to me. I mean, it's great when you do, but it's just great to be out and driving trucks and hanging out with your buddies.
Yeah. See, I hear you. And I think over the last year for me is where that shifted. Can you identify where that kind of shifted for you? It's not about the winning anymore. I mean, it's cool to win, don't get me wrong, and I'm out to win. I want to go, I want to compete, but at the same point, I'd rather show up and hang out with everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where that point was. I think, well, like in 2016 in Arizona, I won class 2 at nationals, and that was like one of the most exciting things I've ever done because I was just there driving and having fun and not even really paying attention. And then when I realized that, I was in the top 5 at the end and I ended up winning by 1 point. That was like at the point where I'm like, it's great to win, but I just enjoy competing now.
Right.
And I love all different kinds. I mean, I like doing G6 type things. I like everything, but nationals is definitely my favorite.
Gotcha. I hear you, and I can't even identify for sure when it shifted for me, but I know that it has over the last year. I didn't even realize it was going on, but at this point, it's definitely shifted. How many trucks would you say you've built up until this point?
Well, I didn't know, and you asked me on the little questionnaire, and I was like, wow, I'm going to have to go back and look. And the answer is 17.
Okay.
That I can actually remember. I had to look on RC Crawler. I had to look back and look at all the different ones. But I built a couple trucks for other people, but mostly they're just trucks that I drive for a year or two, and then end up selling to fund the next build. So
right.
It's 17. I was actually surprised that it was that many because I didn't think it was.
Fair enough. What was your first scale RC build? Like, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but what did it end up being?
So my first scale RC build was actually a 34 Ford. So kind of backstory, most people that know me know that I love the Parma 34 Ford body, and I've used it like so many times. And so the first time when I saw that body, I was like, man, I got to build something. And when I saw the body, I was like, you know what? I really want to build like a dually work truck.
Okay.
And when I started building it, I decided that I wanted to do like a full-on tow truck with like a tow boom on the back and like, hinge boxes and everything. And So that was my first one, and it basically had TLT axles and the Stampede transmission. I took a piece of 1/2 inch square tube and ripped it lengthwise for the frame rails.
Okay.
The leaf springs were starter coil from like a lawnmower. I mean,
Nice.
it was like my first build was like from scratch, except for the body.
That's
And
awesome.
so,
I still aspire to do one like that. So
yeah. And so it's actually, I don't have it anymore. It's been through a few different hands, and I think it's in Colorado. I think the devil has it. So most guys will know what I'm talking about.
I believe that. It's an inside name that I don't know, but it's all good. So
Yeah.
What are the necessary tools to start out with if you're a newbie in this hobby, the scale scene? The things you can't live without if you're gonna start building. Like, I'm not talking like be able to work on your truck. I'm saying you're gonna build things. What are the things you absolutely need to start with?
So my buddy Jay that lives fairly close by to me here, he actually just asked me this question about a month ago, and
Okay.
I gave him a list of all the things for him to get. And he went and bought them all, and I'm going over there Friday night to show him how to use everything.
Sweet.
So what I told him to buy is I told him to get a bandsaw, a metal cutting bandsaw. That's probably the one thing I use more than anything. And a bench grinder and a oxyacetylene torch of some kind. He got one of the portable ones with the the Smith little torch setup. And you know, just a variety of other small tools, like a bench vise, a vise bolted down to your bench. And then I make a tubing bender. I actually made one for him, and I figured I would show you. So this is like the simplest tubing bender you've ever seen. It is a chunk of steel with holes drilled in it and a 1/4 inch dowel pins and a screen door roller from Ace Hardware.
Nice.
And so basically you stick the tube in there and bend it around the radius. You can get different diameter screen door rollers. And I use this for almost all my trucks, and it cost me about $7 to make.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
There you go.
So I made that one for him. Yeah, I made that one for him. It's kind of going to be a little surprise for him. So.
Well, that's awesome. As long as he's not watching.
He might be. But, yeah, and then, you know, things like a Dremel. I've got these things are like, they're a little bender for sheet metal. I use these things all the time. That was like $6 at Harbor Freight. Yeah, just as long as you have some basic stuff, you're fine.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would say the tool that gets used the most in my shop out of everything is the bench vise. Like, everything goes in the vise, man. It doesn't matter. Like, I use my drill press all the time. I use my grinder, but the vise is where it's at. And I think that that's often one. I've never heard anybody say that when they were given a list of tools. That's awesome. So,
yeah.
So props to you for thinking about that.
Yeah, I've made all kinds of crazy bending jigs and stuff, and they all go in my vise. And I also have a piece of railroad rail that I made into an anvil that I use all the time too. So
sweet.
Had to do that.
Yeah.
When you work for the railroad, you get rail. You can get railroad rail anytime you want. So
that's true. That's fair. What is the one tool that you have that you use, but you just like, you could not live without it? It's the favorite. It is the go-to.
Oh gosh. It's got to be my bandsaw. I mean, I use it for everything, but those little helping hands, the little clamping helping hands, I mean, I've got like 3 or 4 of those on the bench, and I use those all the time too. So it's got to be one of those two things. Nice.
A bandsaw is on my list of things. Like, I think it's one of the only things I'm missing, and man, I'm getting tired of hacksawing steel.
Yeah.
It definitely gets tiresome, and I could definitely use a bandsaw. But what is your favorite medium to work with in the scale building? So I talked to a lot of guys who are really big into styrene and so on and so forth. And I know you've done some styrene builds, but do you prefer styrene, or you like doing the metal work more, or like where is it?
Yeah, it's got to be metalwork. I mean, that's kind of where it all started for me with some of my trucks. I mean, I started making everything out of scratch because I'm old and I started back when you had to. So, so yeah, I mean, I've gone from using regular steel to actually using stainless steel for everything now. I don't use any mild steel. So, I just love not having to paint my stuff. I basically sandblast it when I'm done with it and buff it with a wire wheel. And that way, anytime you need to fix it or add something or this or that, you don't have to strip the paint off, fix it, and then redo it. So, and it looks cool.
Yeah, no, I like the raw look when people do stuff like that, especially with stainless or metals that are not just mild steel, because a lot of people use mild steel when they build, so it's a very common build element, but like a stainless or something like that, not as many people use it.
Yeah.
How do you go about starting a scratch build? So what does that process look like when it begins?
So I've actually only built 2 scratch built trucks, so I might not be the best one to ask about that, but you know, when you're starting a scratch build, it means that you want to build a truck that nobody makes to be different. Right. And so, you know, you gotta get as many drawings, as many plans, as many measurements as you can. You know, when I was building my Willys truck, I had this guy down along my railroad tracks come up and start talking to me about railroads and this and that, and he was driving a 1949 Willys pickup, and I had just got ready to build mine, and I was like, I'll tell you everything you want to know about railroads as long as you let me measure your truck and take like 100 pictures. So I walked around it, I measured it, I made drawings from it, and took probably at least 50 or 60 pictures from every angle of it, and it was so helpful. You know, having some kind of plans that show measurements and that you can blow up to the size you're going to make, that's probably the most important thing. And then, you know, just having everything that you need on hand, so that you can, as you're going, you don't have to stop and go to the hobby shop and buy more stuff. When I'm there, I usually just buy like 10 packages of all kinds of different styrene things, so I know I always have what I need for it.
Right. Yeah, I'd say that's a great suggestion to people, because stopping because you're out of materials is very like frustrating, to say the least. When you're being held up because you don't have what you need, but you have the time, that's what's frustrating. So. Yeah.
Ben just said something. He said scratch building means something different to everybody, and that's true, because it's not only, you know, always just the scratch built body. You know, like my class 3 FJ, you know, it's a full tube buggy and it's completely built from scratch, but the body was an FJ40 body that I had, so I don't consider it a scratch build, but most of it is, I guess.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's one of the key points is, and I think it depends on your skill set and where you're at in your development along the way, and how you're doing things in the hobby, the tools that are at your accessible, that you're accessible to you, so on and so forth. Like that kind of determines your definition of scratch built for yourself.
Yeah, and scratch built, you know, I mean, I've built 2 scratch built trucks. My Willys, I'm amazed that it turned out as good as it did, because I had no idea what I was doing when I built it. The guy on SBG, is it Wrecker or Wrencher?
Probably Wrencher.
Yeah. When he built that thing, I was looking at it and I was just like, oh my gosh, that is exactly what I want to build. And so I followed him throughout that whole build, and I learned so much just from all the Willys truck builds, all the scratch builds that were going on, that I kind of incorporated all the different things from the different trucks that I looked at and put them all into mine, and it actually turned out pretty good. So That's
Yeah,
exciting.
that's awesome. I think it turned out awesome. I was watching it along the way. I'm guessing it's probably sitting around somewhere if you want to grab it. I don't know how
Oh yeah,
close it is
it's right
to
here.
you, but I mean, I think that this Willie's turned out awesome. I was watching the progress, and I think it looks killer.
Yeah, it turned out pretty good. It did really well at Scale Nationals. I really especially like the tailgate. That turned out way better than I thought it would.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'd say the roof and the tailgate were definitely the two hardest parts. So
yeah,
and my so yeah.
Awesome,
yeah,
man.
Really fun truck to drive.
Let's
too.
talk a little bit.
Really fun truck to drive. It did. What's that?
Oh, I was going to say, let's talk a little bit about the fact that a lot of your builds contain some pretty intricate metal work. It's one of the things that I picked up on first when I started following you. And my question would be, do you prefer brazing or welding, and why one over the other?
I've always brazed. I've always used an oxyacetylene torch setup, and with like just a really small tip. But recently I got one of those Smith little torches, the jeweler's torches, and it's like fantastic. I've got it right here. It's so little, and you can do such nice detailed work and pinpoint work. So I don't actually like braze. I use silver solder for everything. I use 56% silver solder because I do use stainless steel. It has a little more silver in it, and so it matches the stainless tube a little better in the joints. Okay. And so you don't really see it very much. So yeah, I'd love to have a TIG welder, and my brother does TIG welding and stuff, and he's always like, oh dude, you got to try this, but I'm afraid to try it because then I know I'd have to buy like a $3,000 machine. And my silver soldering works just fine. So
right. Yeah, I mean, stick with what you know and stick with what works. It clearly churns out amazing products, so I love it.
Yeah, thanks.
So you had talked a little bit about that you love the 34 Ford body and so on and so forth, but when I began like really diving into this hobby and I was surfing RC Crawler, I had a job where I taught in a placement, and so on days when the students weren't there, the teachers had to come anyway, and there was literally nothing for us to do. I mean, when I say literally, there was nothing. So I would spend my days reading RCC. And so I came across this 34 Ford with flames on it and like this killer metalwork, and it was yours. I followed the build thread. It was one of the first ones. Like I read it all the way through, and it was definitely like it was yours. But I want to know like what inspired that build? Where'd that come from? And is it still kicking around, or have you gotten rid of it to fund some other stuff?
Yeah, you can ask Ryan Overby where that is. It went through a few different hands and ended up at his place, and it actually was not finished. It didn't have any electronics in it and stuff when he got it, and so he sent me it and a couple other trucks of mine that he's bought that he has in his museum, and had me get it running, put electronics in it, and along with a couple of the other trucks, and I shipped them back to him ready to drive, all hooked up to his 3PK or whatever it was. And so, yeah, he has it now, and along with another Short Willie is another truck. It was a all stainless steel scratch built Willie class 3 truck that I had, and also a King of the Hammers style D90. It was bright green.
Sweet.
But as far as the 34 Ford the 34D goes, it was something that I'd always wanted to build, and with that body and everything, it's really narrow. And so it was kind of tough to get it to work and to look right and everything. But
right.
It was just one of those projects where I sat down and I built like what I would consider like the coolest truck that I could even imagine at the time. And spent a lot of time on it and had that body custom painted by a guy back east. And, you know, it went through a few different incarnations of axles and drivetrains and everything. And it's one of my favorite trucks for sure. So no, Ben,
Yeah.
you can't call me. Don't do that.
Yeah, that won't work so hot.
Yeah.
How do you find a truck to build? Like, where's your inspiration come from when it comes to locating, figuring out, and beginning a build? Or like, where do you start?
You know, I don't even really go looking for them. I've got kind of ideas of what I want to build, and someday I'll get to all the ideas I have. But, you know, every once in a while, something will pop up on Facebook or on, you know, on RC Crawler. Somebody will post a picture of a 1-to-1 rig, or, you know, I watch a lot of the TTC races, or this year I went to King of the Hammers and saw a lot of rigs, got some great ideas of stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, I like weird, different stuff. I don't like building, you know, your average everyday Jeep JK or whatever, or Toyota.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you know, sorry, I'm reading some of these, some of the comments and stuff. So, you know, my inspiration is all just in my head right now, and I just have a lot of different ideas and not enough time to bring them to fruition. So
I think that's a common thread with a lot of people I talk to. They're like, I'm like 10 builds ahead in my head, but I can't get them built.
Yeah.
So how was the King of the Hammers trip? Like, that's not on our questions, but I totally forgot. I had seen that pop up over the course of time there.
Oh my God.
What was that like, man? I'd love to take it out there.
It was absolutely insane. I have never seen anything like that. I don't know if I'll go back anytime soon, because I think I still have dust in my ears from that weekend. It was dusty, dirty. I didn't take a shower for like 5 days, but it was amazing. It was so cool. My buddy had his Jeep on 42s there, and we went out wheeling some of the trails, and I got to ride in some of the KOH trucks just around. We knew a few guys that were actually racing there in the Everyman Challenge and stuff, so I got to actually take a little spin in a Dodge Power Wagon desert racing truck. It was super cool. So it was a great experience, but I don't know that I'll do it until I get a motorhome and have some amenities, because it was bad. I slept in a tent the whole week.
I feel like that would be a really rough place to tent camp. Like, it'd just be like dirt snowing on you all the time, basically.
Yeah, it was bad. Ryan Overby was there. He didn't hang out with me very much, though. He was living it up out in a hotel somewhere.
Nice. When you build, we talked a little bit about you were sourcing measurements for scratch build stuff, but have you always like been very key in on the measurements, or do you kind of just build by feel? What's your preference there?
You know, when I'm building something, I just start building and start bending tube. I think the most important thing is just symmetry, building the left and the right the same.
Right.
I have a bin full of bent tube that just is wrong, and so I'll go through and just start bending stuff, and if it's not to the right scale to fit the truck or the body, I just toss it in the bin and keep going and bend a new one. But I'd say the most important thing is just the symmetry of it, when you look down at making sure it's not lopsided. It's super hard to do, but it's really important. So
yeah, and you know, I think that there's kind of two schools of thought there. Like there's a lot of people who are diehard, measure it to like the smallest increment possible and don't change it. And then there's other people who are like, just wing it. And I personally fall kind of in the middle. I'll be like, I want it to be about this long, and I will pick an arbitrary measurement so that I can measure everything that long. I'll be like, oh yeah, 10 millimeters sounds great. That's not what I really wanted. I just wanted it that long. So
yeah. It's pretty much, if it doesn't look right, then I'll just toss it and start over. But yeah, I don't do a huge amount of measuring. I just make sure that the truck, that the thing I'm building, that everything, like the roll bar isn't too high on the cab, or, that the wheelbase of something fits the body fits the wheelbase, stuff like that. So.
Right. It has to have the look. It has to look the part and look good. And sometimes that's hard to do when you just go off the measurements, at least for me. So.
Yeah, for sure.
What is one thing that you will never leave off of a scale build?
Oh man, I've got to have somebody driving it. It drives me crazy when people build a scale truck and then you see it in pictures and stuff, and it's just ghost riding down the trail. So I actually found an action figure that actually kind of looks like me.
Yeah.
His name's even Tim Hunter. He's a wizard. And so I ordered like 5 of these on Amazon, and he even has the little goatee. So I ordered like 5 of these on Amazon. They're getting really hard to find. So I have them in all 3 of my trucks right now, and I think I sold a truck that had one in it that I wish I had back. But I'm gonna have to find some more of them because I gotta stick with it.
Awesome, man.
Ben, no, I do not measure bumper width.
I don't measure bumper width either. I just go by what it looks like. I'm just messing with you.
He's talking about my Willys pickup. The bumper on it, I had some issues with it, and I needed it. I needed a little bit of tire clearance, and so I kind of fudged it a little bit. And he's been bugging me, calling it a Class 2 bumper for like the last 2 months.
Nice. I saw Jake Scobie commented, yeah, thanks. I look like a referee. Next time it's a solid shirt. Thanks, guys. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about who are some of your influences in this hobby? And if you were going to pick someone who should be on the show and have a conversation, get their stuff out there, who would you pick?
So because I started so long ago, there were certain guys that were more local to me that really got me into it and stuff. One of them is Ryan Garish. He had a little Ford pickup back in the day that was like the coolest thing. And when he showed up at an event with it, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm totally hooked. And he was so far ahead of his time as far as, building scale trucks. He was building scale trucks before scale trucks were even a thing. So he'd be one of them, and he ran the local club here too. And so he really got me into all the scale competition side of it and everything. Another guys would be the Hand brothers, Jim and Chad Hand. They're not in RC anymore, but Jake, Ryan doesn't really do a whole lot of scale RC stuff anymore, but he's still around. I bug him on the phone every once in a while. So, but yeah, the Hand brothers, they were so far ahead of their time too. They were building, driveline digs and stuff back when you couldn't buy a dig for a truck. And they're still building one-to-one stuff, but I miss those times and some of those guys back in the day. Another guy that's always been a big influence on me is Dean Shao, Chino from RCC. That guy can seriously take 2 parts from 2 different trucks that were never meant to be together and machine something to hook them together and make them work. He's amazing. Every time I see something new from him, he's not really on Facebook at all, and he's on RCC a little bit, but he's always been like such an amazing fabricator and troubleshooter and stuff. In fact, I'm going to be going down hopefully to Axial Fest this year, and I'll see him down there. I haven't seen him for a while and get to hang out with him a little bit. I think he'd be a great interview if he was in for it. He's been around longer than me, so.
All right. Next question, man. What is your favorite build out there that is not your own?
Okay, so this is going to take a little while because I have 4 that I'm going to mention. So one of them was Norm Hop built a he really wanted to build the this King of the Hammers buggy. It was a oh crap, what was it? I got a note here. It was the Liberty buggy. It was based on a Jeep Liberty, and it was a King of the Hammers rig. And he had a guy up in Seattle, Dan Garber. He had him build the chassis for him because he didn't know how to do that. And then Dan sent the body, the chassis to me, and I handmade some aluminum panels for it, and sent it back to Norm. And Norm was the mastermind behind Team 36. I don't know if you remember him from back in the day. It's been a while. So, you know, he was a scale guru. He would scale rigs out and everything. But, you know, that's like, it was one of my favorite rigs just overall. I just love the way it looked and all the fabrication that went into it, and the fact that I got to be part of it. So that would be number 4 for me. Number 3 would be a rig that Will Lockwood. I don't know if you know him. He's on Bitchin' Rides, the TV show Bitchin' Rides.
Okay.
He's one of the fabricators on there. So he used to be heavy into scale RC stuff, and he built this rig called Too Much Thinking TTC.
Okay.
And he's like a 3D, like a CAD guy, and like amazing metal fabricator. Well, he actually like designed this whole truck in CAD and then had it all laser cut, all the chassis parts laser cut, and then he built this crazy jig and like TIG welded it all together. And I've always loved it. He always built really cool shock mounts and stuff, and I've actually been inspired by some of his shock mounts that he's built. And I still love looking back at that truck. I have pictures on my phone that I look when he was building it and stuff all the time. So
that's awesome.
Number 2 would be Metal Masher, Blake over there. He built this Toyota pickup that it's like the most fantastic detailed scale build I've ever seen. And he actually brought it to East Coast Scale Challenge. It was bright green when he finished it.
Yep.
And I don't know if you know the one I'm talking about.
I do. I've held it in my hands. I've looked at it. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
I watched him ram that thing into a log, and I was just like, oh, stop. But that truck, just watching him build that, how detailed it is and stuff, that's just got to be right up there. And number 1 is Guido from RCC. You know, when he started building that rig, he would bring it to Scale Nationals over in Montana every year, and I'd see the different levels of it being built, and he's what inspired me to build my EB, my Bronco. Yeah. And just watching that thing develop year after year, and him changing things and troubleshoot things. I mean, that rig has got to be my favorite overall. That's not mine. So, yeah.
Yeah. That has to be one of the longest
Ryan Overdeep really wants that rig too. So.
Yeah, no, I definitely know exactly what you're talking about with the Guido rig, man. That was probably one of the biggest build threads I've ever read. Especially, what was awesome is it didn't like just come of age and like be its truck and then go away. Like he kept changing it and manipulating it and making it better and better and better as he went along.
For sure.
Which is awesome, and I don't think enough people do that in general. That's a whole nother conversation. But I think that if you hold on to your stuff and you make it better, as opposed to just switching and doing something completely different, especially in the comp world, you're far, far better off. but that's just a personal preference. Do you, when you build, do you operate on a budget, or is it kind of along the lines of the truck gets what it needs, that is what it, like, I don't care, I'm paying for it?
Yeah, I'm all about building something with the best parts that I can. And so that tends to be why I have to sell a truck when I start to build a new one. Luckily for me, Ryan Overby, I have his phone number. So, when I'm ready to build a new truck, I'm just like, hey, Ryan, I'm building a new truck. Do you want this one? And he's like, yeah, sure. Ship it to me. So
I'm one of those guys. Like, I could just be like, hey.
I know. It's really nice. Everybody's always like, dude, give me his number. I'm like, no. So, of course I'm on a budget because, I have 4 kids and, I have a lot of bills and stuff. I can only spend so much, but, I like good parts and I like spending money on it. And I do recycle some of my parts and some like wheels and tires and stuff from one rig to the other. But, most of my trucks, they end up costing close to $2,000 to build when they're all said and done. So, I'm on a budget, but not like a crazy budget. So.
Right. It's definitely not a cheap hobby. And I think that's, it depends. There's kind of a couple schools of thought there, depending on what your goal is and what your end point is, and as to how much money you spend. But it's cool to hear people say either they are or they aren't on a budget. They pay attention, they don't pay attention, because I definitely have always been on a big budget. So I've had to pick and choose my piece that I was going to change all the way up through like forever. So,
I've had to mow lawns and stuff to finish a truck before. So, I just go around the neighborhood. Hey, $20, I'll mow your lawn. So,
so let's change the gears just a little bit and start talking a little bit about Sorrca stuff. You're one of the founding members of Sorrca, actually, which is pretty awesome, man. How did it get started, and did you ever think that it would get to where it is now?
Yeah, when we originally came up with the rules, we'd been competing in Montana for a year or two, and we had a basic set of rules and, a few scale points just to help separate the really comp trucks from the ones that were more scale oriented. We'd have, points for interior, this, that. But it got to a point once the Montana scale nationals were over, when we kind of went away from there and started doing our own, we realized that, there's a lot of people that are competing in local clubs around the country that can use these rules. And so we just kind of, got a committee together, got a base group of like 5 of us and started kind of hashing out rules. At first they were like super detailed and like really difficult to follow. And so before we officially released them, we kind of modified them and made them a lot simpler. And they've just, every year we've learned something at nationals, and we've modified rules, trying to make them, trying to make them fun, but still, help people separate themselves from just the stock truck, people that put time into doing an interior and, metal bumpers, this and that, and trying to give them a little bit advantage over the guys with the Lexan trucks with plastic bumpers and stuff that maybe will perform better, but aren't quite as scale looking and everything. So, it's been a long journey, but it's cool that, there's a lot of people around the country using them. And, I hope that, scale nationals will continue and that Sorrca will continue. It's getting a little more watered down with some of the other rule sets that are around. Different parts of the country will use certain rule sets, or they'll modify Sorrca ones enough. But I think when we went down to Tennessee for nationals this year, it kind of, let everybody know kind of what we're about and what we're trying to do. And I think everybody had a fun time. So
yeah, good. I think that as a Sorrca committee member, founding member, whatever, that like the job seems pretty thankless, man. I don't know how you've hung in there as long as you have. Every year when the rules come out, if I was you, I'd probably just I'd just close my Facebook account for like a month and then come back in. But that's just me.
Yeah.
But anyway, what has been the toughest part of being on that committee as a whole?
Oh gosh. I used to let a lot of that stuff bother me more than I do now. I'm getting to that point in my life where I'm too old to care about me. I want the rules to be fun. I want the rules to stay fun, but still be something that that people can follow and the whole brass thing. I'm not too sure that's going to be something that continues. I think it made us kind of look like scale Nazis when we did that this year, and I think that's on our list of things to talk about. I think the list of things for us to talk about this year are trying to bring in more newer guys, people that don't usually compete, that just want to have fun and learn. Right. I think we've kind of forgot about that, and we're concentrating a little bit too much on nationals. And we need to understand that there's clubs all around that use these rules year round. And maybe we need to simplify them a little bit. Maybe we need to try and see what we can do to make it a little more fun and a little more newbie friendly. And when it really comes down to it, I'm not too sure that being able to see some brass parts on your chassis is that big of a deal. So.
Man, so the brass thing like hit me real good because I built a bunch of stuff out of brass, not for this season, but for last season. And then I was like, I really liked the way it looked and all that. And then they changed the rule, and I was like, oh, it's a bummer. But again, I at the same point understand that like you have to conform because that's what the events are going to hold. So it is what it is. But one of the things that you said that I'm super excited to hear you say is that you're going to take a look at the new people coming in. And so in my area, I've had a really hard time getting people to buy into the rule set when they're brand new. And I think that they're just intimidated. And the thing that I keep going back to is if you look at my truck, like the Space Acorn truck, that it just looks intimidating. It's built in such a way to be very competitive and run all the scale points. But I think that it intimidates the people who just show up and know that they've got to like put their truck down next to that and run.
Isn't it pink with stars and stuff on it though?
Yeah,
Isn't it pink with stars?
It has a unicorn.
How can it be intimidating?
I guess it's not. I guess unicorns aren't scary. That fooled me, but no, you know what I mean. Like you can paint it whatever color you want. Yeah. It looks like it's supposed to do its job. And that's the thing that I've struggled with when I've looked at rules and stuff over the last year, and it's been the like, how can I feel good about sitting that down next to a stock truck and being like, all right, man, like this is class 2, let's go. And I was happy to hear you say that you're going to look at some of that and what's going on with all of those things. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
like I think
there's such a huge separation between guys that have been doing it for 10 years and guys that are new to the hobby. And I think it is intimidating for the new guys to come in and, you go and you build courses and they're so difficult because you want to make them competitive for the good guys that have been doing it forever, that the new guys can't even finish 3 gates. And so we have to figure out ways, like locally I'll do a 10-gate course, but I'll do like 3 bonus gates so that the guys that have been doing it for a while can actually drive some of the harder lines, but then the new guys don't have to worry about the bonus gates. I think things like that. And also possibly having like you know, a stock class where you know, a truck, like I think in K&K they do like class 2 is the stock class, and class 2.5 is what class 2 is now. And so, you know, maybe adding a beginner class with lower scale points, just so that people can get their feet wet and, you know, can learn what they need to do to compete with the bigger guys. So
yeah. So I'll throw a quick big idea out there, and then we'll just move on. But I would love to see separation, and nobody else is doing it in the scale hobby, where it's based on skill level. So as opposed to, and I know that creates a whole host of other problems. So like, I don't need to go into a huge conversation about all that, but I'd love to see like a beginner, rookie, novice, whatever. I don't care what you term it, but new guys and seasoned veteran guys separated by their skill level, not necessarily their build. But that's my 2 cents on that subject, and I will move on because I'm not trying to take over the interview. So
no, that's fine.
But forums or Facebook, and why one over the other?
Well, I've always been a forum guy. I mean, I've been on RCC ever since, you know, like I think I registered in 06. I'd been kind of lurking around there for a while before that. But, you know, the forums, everything's so organized. You know, you can jump in there and you can go look at whatever you want to. You know exactly where everything is. Stuff doesn't get lost like it does on Facebook. But, you know, forums are just disappearing now. And with the whole photo bucket thing, you know, so many great threads were lost. So many pictures are gone now that most people can't see, that it's really frustrating. You know, I still do some build threads on there, and I still try to support it and push people toward it, because there's still some great tech on there.
Oh yeah, there's lots.
But, you know, yeah, but, you know, as far as our local club and, you know, setting up events and stuff, Facebook it's where it is right now. But, you know, I don't ever put any build threads or anything, you know, on there, because everything just gets lost. It's not really worthwhile. So
yeah, it's hard to do a build thread on Facebook of any kind. So
yeah.
What's your best piece of advice for a scale newbie? Like, guy just went out, bought his first ready to run, threw his battery in, got the controller, and he's like, I'm going to the comp. Where's the advice come in?
So advice for the actual competition?
Yeah, or just in general. I mean, I always try to frame it toward competition. I guess I'm kind of competition minded. That's what we do a lot around here. And so I'd say, yeah, like kind of, you got your ready to run, you're going out to the first comp. What's your advice?
Okay, so I guess the first advice is just find some of the guys that have been around and that know how to drive, and watch them. Because, I mean, I still learn things watching, like Ben Morin and those guys up in Seattle. Every time I drive with them, I learn new things. You know,
yeah,
especially a newbie, if you just sit there and watch how they pick lines, and watch why they pick lines, and why they, you know, loop around to save a reverse, and just, you know, learn what your truck is capable of, and then lower it and put good tires on it, and then start, you know, modifying it after that. But I think just, you know, getting information from somebody that knows what they're doing and what they're talking about is the most important thing. Stay off Facebook if you're doing that.
Yeah, no, information in real life is definitely better than information on Facebook, because a lot of those guys aren't commenting on the newbie type of questions, because they've answered them a million times. As much as we try to, it's still just the way it goes. So, where do you see scale crawling heading in the coming years?
Gosh, I mean, I hope it continues like it is. There's so many different ways to scale, to have fun with scale trucks now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many events, you know, back, you know, even 6 or 8 years ago, there was basically scale nationals and then all the local events. And now there's all the G6s, you know, Brian Parker does all the Parker Fests and stuff all over, which I'm actually hoping to go to next weekend. We'll see if work will let me off for a couple days. you know, I just think that that competitions, there's so many fun competitions. I just hope that everybody can try and stick with a rule set that is fun and consistent throughout the country, and that, you know, I mean, there's so many new products constantly coming out, like this Vanquish rig. I mean, stuff like that just blows me away, you know, compared to what we used to have, 3D printing and stuff. But, you know, I think the art of fabricating stuff yourself by hand is kind of being lost. And so I hope that, you know, people can continue building things out of metal, but with their hand, you know, scratch building bodies, stuff like that, because, you know, that's where the roots of the hobby come from. And I hope that never gets lost by all the technology. So,
you know, I feel like it probably won't be lost, but I do see what you're saying. Like, you don't see it as much anymore because people can, I mean, you can spend a bunch of time doing it yourself, and if it's your first try, it's not going to come out as good as what you can buy. Or you can spend like 30 minutes online searching and buy it and bolt it on. So I do see what you're saying.
Yeah. Andy just said, who remembers buying cases of TLTs? I was just thinking of something the other day when I was kind of thinking about this interview, and I realized that that until 2016, I never bought a complete kit rock crawler truck. Every single truck that I built from 2006 through 2015 or 16 was all from parts that I had acquired, like on RCC or at the hobby shop. And I finally bought an SCX-10-2 kit when they came out and built a truck out of it. But I just thought that was interesting that I had never actually went out and bought a kit truck.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you used to just go buy all the parts and put them together.
Yeah. I hear you. My first one was ready to run Honcho with the green body, and then everything after that, like for the most part, was used garbage. Like I never buy anything new. If I'm gonna buy something new, I've like picked out the one thing that I want, and I'm buying that. I've never bought like a brand new ready to run rig. I get new parts, but I don't ever get like a new complete truck. So So I know what you're saying. I just have done it the other way. I started that way and then branched away from it, where you started the other way and branched and ended up with one. So, Tim, do you have any sponsors currently? And if you do have any, why have you chosen to represent those companies?
Well, the only real sponsor that I have is Pitbull Tires. You know, I've been with them since like 2009, 2010. Desmond got a hold of me and he's like, hey, you know, I really love your builds. I really love the trucks that you've been competing with. I've been following your competition, and, you know, I noticed that you run the old 22 SOAR tires, and I think that's really cool. And we are getting ready to release a tire based on our 1-to-1 rocker tire, and I want you to help me design it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, that's super cool. And so I actually helped him design everything with the original Rock Beast, and gave him a lot of input on size and stuff. And so I actually still have one of the original sets. It doesn't even have the lettering on the side of him, which is really cool. It was one of the prototype sets that I got. So, you know, I've been with them ever since then, and they've always been really good to me. And it's a fun team. It's a great team to be part of. And I really like their products, so that helps. And they're the only real sponsor that I have. You know, I used to be Team 36, Norm Hop that I was talking about. I used to be a team driver for him, and that was really fun because he made just awesome scale accessories and stuff. So that was fun. And then Locked Up RC. Patrick, he's one of the scale rules committee members. I've driven for him when he needs like a team driver at nationals for like the TTC or this or that, and sometimes they'll give me a good deal on a new set of wheels or something. So, but I'm not an official driver for him, but I figured I'd mention him because he's always been really good to me.
Yeah, I hear you. That's awesome. What should we expect to see next from you, man?
I got a couple things I'm working on. I mean, the Willys truck was kind of my big one of this year. I don't usually build trucks for other people, but I'm actually building a kind of a fun truck for Ryan Overby. So it's going to be like that 66 Chevy pickup. Going to be got Curry's under it, and it'd be like a full tube buggy on a axial frame. But with bolt-on panels and stuff, and it'll have dig. It'll be a 1.9 rig, but it'll just be more of a fun truck that he can take when he goes down to like KOH or just wants to go trail running, that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I just getting started on that. And, I've got a couple ideas for some stuff that I want to do. I want to build like a G6 type rig that is just kind of a fun rig. I'm going to do like XR width axles and like a big brushless motor in it. And it'll be pretty lightweight, lot of suspension travel, kind of wide, so I can maybe do a little U4 racing with it and jump in it and stuff. So yeah. And then I'm thinking about getting that new HPI truck, the ready to run for my kid, for my boys to drive, because I'm thinking about taking them down to Parker Fest next weekend. And I don't really have enough trucks with remote controls for them to drive mine, so I might go get one of those HPIs. I've kind of been interested in it since it came out, and it seems like it's a pretty good rig. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. I can't wait to see what comes out, what you think of, what's in the brain that needs to come out to the surface. So I'm sure it's going to be good. Is there anything that I missed? Anything you want to talk about? Anything that like it's your moment here? Anything you need to do?
No, I mean I appreciate you having me on. I hope people enjoyed it. I wanted to show this off real quick.
Yes,
because
let's
this
do
is
that.
kind of this is like my pride and joy.
Yeah.
This is my EB that I built way back when, and it's taken apart. I had to steal parts and stuff off of it to build other trucks, but I figured Ryan would like to see this so that he knows that I still have it. I know he wants it.
So that means you're gearing up for another build, and you need a buyer, right?
Yeah, no, that one's not going to be for sale. If I sell that, it's going to be a long ways down the road. So,
yeah. Well, all right, man. So if that's good, I want to thank you for being on. Without guests on my show, then it's just me like interviewing myself, and that's pretty boring. But yeah. I appreciate it. I've followed your stuff for a really long time. We actually talked like right after I started all of this up, and then our conversation kind of fell off. I think it was on my end. I just got busy and life took over, and then I was glad to be able to get a hold of you and get you on, and definitely do the interviews. So thank you for being on. I totally appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I had fun.
Awesome. I'm glad. So
right.
with that, I'm going to let you go, and then I'll kind of close the show out, and we'll go from there.
All right. See you guys.
All right. See ya. All right, guys. First off, thank you all for tuning in, and for the few of you who are left, the 23 of you or whatever, I genuinely appreciate you tuning in, logging in, and checking out what's going on this week. First and foremost, let's talk about the people I have coming up. Next week is Dan Davidson. Hopefully I can get a Team K&K recap. That's what's going on right now. If you aren't paying attention to what's going on at K&K, you should be. There's great footage, great stuff popping up all over the place, and you should be paying attention to all of that. Additionally, the following week on the 21st, I have Eric Dye. If you don't know who Eric is, he is the man behind Deluxe Fabrication. He has just killer stuff. Very comp crawler oriented, but he snuck his way into the scale scene and has kind of taken it by storm a little bit. And I have some of his products, and I cannot wait to talk to him in person. Additionally, on June 5th, I have Brad Perry lined up. He's Scale Ultra Runner, driver. I don't know what you call that, but man, that seems like a lot of work and a lot of fun all at the same time. Additionally, he's a photographer, and in case none of you have picked up, I've been very interested in iPhone photography, and I've been working at taking better pictures of my scale rigs here and there. So I cannot wait to talk to him, learn a little bit about photography, hopefully as well, and see what's going on. So, from my end, please check out my YouTube channel. It's just VanOrd Customs. I am uploading all of these interviews to the YouTube channel, but additionally, I'm going to be putting out some content over the summer. Tomorrow is my last day of work for the summer, so expect to see some things popping up and some info from me. Additionally, check out the Facebook page at VanOrd Customs, the Instagram, VanOrd_Customs, and my website, VanOrdCustoms.com. I have license plates and the Scale Garage backdrop. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely go over and check that out. It is killer. Use code VC2018 for 10% off at any time, and you can use your whole order on that code. So, lastly, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it each and every week. I get new viewers. I see you guys, the same type of people coming in, and I appreciate it, guys. I never thought it would get to where it is, and you're the reason that I keep doing this. So, with that being said, without all of you, it's just me talking to a camera or me talking to another guy in the hobby, and that's no fun for anyone. So I appreciate it wholeheartedly, and if you're interested at all, go check out the YouTube and subscribe because good stuff's coming. So thanks. I will see you guys all again next week. Same time, same place, live at 9:45 with Dan Davidson. All right. Have a good night, guys.